The Roman Empire was dead, but its shadow still lingered. In 486 AD, a Roman general named Syagrius ruled a dying world. The empire had collapsed, but he clung to power in northern Gaul, the last flicker of Roman rule in a land overrun by barbarians. Then from the dark forests of Germania, a new power emerged. A warlord with unmatched ambition, ruthless cunning, and a thirst for conquest. His name was Clovis I. He was no mere tribal leader. He was something far more dangerous. A man with a vision of empire. Clovis marched against Syagrius, leading an army of hardened Frankish warriors, men who had spent their lives raiding, fighting, and conquering. This was not just a battle. This was the moment where Roman Gaul would either survive or be crushed forever. And in one final brutal clash, the last breath of Roman authority in Gaul would be silenced forever. But how did Clovis, a barbarian warlord, defeat the once mighty Romans? How did this battle change the course of European history? This is the forgotten story of the Battle of Soissons and how the Franks rose to power. For centuries, Rome ruled Gaul with an iron fist. The legions built cities, roads, and fortresses. They crushed rebellions, imposed their laws, and transformed the land into one of the wealthiest provinces of the empire. But by the 5th century, Rome was collapsing. Barbarian invasions, civil wars, and corrupt leadership tore the empire apart from within. In 476 AD, the Western Roman Empire officially fell when the last emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was deposed. Rome was gone, but not entirely. In northern Gaul, a Roman general named Syagrius refused to surrender. He ruled over a territory known as the Domain of Soissons, a final outpost of Roman power in the west. Though the empire was no more, Syagrius still commanded Roman legions, still enforced Roman law, and still clung to the dream of a Rome that could rise again. But Syagrius had a problem. His land was surrounded by barbarians. The Visigoths had taken southern Gaul. The Burgundians controlled the east. And to the north, the Franks, a fierce Germanic tribe, were growing stronger under a ruthless young king named Clovis I. Clovis was not like the other Frankish warlords. He was ambitious, calculating, and utterly merciless. He had a vision to unite the Franks and carve out his own empire on the ruins of Rome. And to do that, he had to destroy Syagrius. In 486 AD, Clovis made his move. He gathered an army of Franks, hardened warriors who lived for battle. With their iron swords, heavy shields, and ruthless ferocity, they had already conquered smaller tribes. Now they set their sights on Soissons. Syagrius, realizing the danger, sent urgent messages to the Visigoths, pleading for help. But no reinforcements came. He was alone, and Clovis was coming for him. The two armies met near Soissons on an open field. The Romans still had discipline and strategy. They were organized, their troops standing in tight formations, their shields locked together. But the Franks had something else: speed, brute force, and a hunger for blood. What happened next would change the fate of Gaul forever. The Battle of Soissons began at sunrise. The Roman soldiers, trained in traditional formations, held their ground behind a wall of shields. Their spears bristled in the morning light, waiting for the first charge. Then the Franks attacked. Clovis led from the front, his war cry shaking the battlefield. His warriors charged like a storm, crashing into the Roman lines with terrifying force. The Romans fought back, their disciplined ranks holding firm against the first wave. Swords clashed, spears pierced flesh, and the battlefield became a sea of blood and steel. For hours, the two forces locked in brutal combat. The Romans, using their superior training, formed a testudo, a defensive formation of locked shields designed to resist direct assaults. Frankish warriors hacked at them, but the shield wall held strong. But Clovis was not just a brute warrior, he was a strategist. Realizing he could not break the formation by sheer force, he ordered his cavalry to circle behind the Roman ranks. The Frankish horsemen, swift and ruthless, attacked from the sides, cutting into the less protected Roman flanks. As Roman soldiers turned to face the cavalry, Clovis saw his moment. He feigned a retreat, pulling his forces back slightly, luring the Romans forward. Believing they had the advantage, Syagrius made a fatal mistake. He ordered his men to break formation and advance. That was the turning point. The moment the Roman line lost cohesion, Clovis turned his army around and unleashed a second devastating charge. The Franks, now more vicious than ever, smashed into the disorganized Roman forces, cutting them down without mercy. Their axes and swords struck with brutal precision, tearing through armor and shields. The once disciplined Roman army collapsed into chaos. Some fought desperately, others threw down their weapons and ran. Syagrius saw his forces crumbling. Realizing all was lost, he fled the battlefield, abandoning his men to slaughter. But there was no escape. The Franks hunted down the retreating Romans, slaughtering them as they ran. The fields of Soissons were now covered in corpses, Roman banners trampled into the mud. By nightfall, the battle was over. The last army of Rome and Gaul was no more. Clovis had done the impossible. He had defeated the final remnants of Roman rule and claimed northern Gaul for the Franks. But his conquest was not complete yet. He had one last enemy to deal with, Syagrius himself. Clovis hunted down Syagrius, chasing him into Visigothic territory. The Visigoths, fearing Clovis's rising power, betrayed Syagrius and handed him over. Clovis showed no mercy. He executed Syagrius, and with his death, Roman rule in Gaul was officially over. The Franks were now the dominant power. And Clovis? He went on to unite all the Frankish tribes, convert to Christianity, and lay the foundation for the medieval kingdom of France. And if you love epic battles, lost history, and untold stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell, because history isn't just something you learn, it's something you feel.